the 2023 Hyundai IONIQ 5. A futuristic look with a nod to the past. If you're getting DeLorean vibes, that is not a coincidence, because this thing is inspired by the Pony Coupe, which was designed by the same guy that did that DeLorean DMC-12. Now, as always, I am Jason, and we're going to take a look at this thing from the outside in and talk about what it has been like to live with for the last week. Let's go ahead and take a look. Under the hood, no engine to speak of, but since this is where it would normally be, I'll talk about the power numbers. You have 320 horsepower and 446 pound-feet of torque coming through this one, which is quite a lot more than a lot of people are used to, especially in something they're just using to commute. So just keep that in mind if you have a little bit of a lead foot. And this thing is going to charge in just over 7 hours if you're using a regular AC level 2 charger. It's going to be a lot more than that if you are just using a regular 120 outlet. But if you're using a DC fast charger, then a 150 will get you from 10% to 80% in 25 minutes, and a 250 will get you to 80% in 18 minutes. So that's not too bad of a wait. And we don't have much of a frunk here. This is where the cord would be stored if I had the cord in here, but I have left it at home. Not too much space since we do have a lot of stuff in here, but if this were the rear wheel drive version, then we would have even less stuff in here. We'd have a little bit more space there, but still not a whole frunk. This car also has a preconditioning feature, so on those really hot days or really cold days, as soon as you punch the EV charging station into your nav, it'll actually start getting the battery to the right temperature for optimal charging. For this one here in the all-wheel drive version, you're getting 266 miles of range, and that is up 10 miles from last year at 256. If you're in the rear wheel drive version, then you're looking at 303 miles of range. Hyundai has really done a great job with this car, making it look kind of futuristic without being too out there. I love that they offer some fun colors too. This one is called Digital Teal, and it kind of changes depending on the light. And this IONIQ 5 is the first Hyundai that is on the eGMP platform, where you've essentially got your batteries all down below. Here is a skateboard platform, which is something that a lot of EVs are going to use nowadays, and one that they can then extend to use on other EVs. So you've got your batteries across the bottom, then you'll have one motor to control the rear wheels if you get it in rear wheel drive form, and you'll get a second motor to power the front wheels if you get the all-wheel drive form like we have here. Now, a lot of designers like to get rid of door handles because they mess up their designs, and so this one, they kind of fade into the car here. You do have touch to lock and touch to unlock, and you just get this little stick that you can pull on there. My wife hates that. I'm not the biggest fan of it. I kind of would like a regular door handle, but kind of see why they went for it, just not necessarily my thing. And you'll notice that the mirrors will fold and unfold with the lock. They will also tilt when you go into reverse. Both the driver and the passenger will. And you've got blind spot monitoring. You've got your integrated turn signal. You've got a camera down here. Notice this one is on 20-inch wheels with Michelin Primacy All Seasons. These are supposed to be acoustic tires, help keep the noise down. Jury's kind of out on whether or not those help, but it is fairly quiet in the cabin. And we've got about 182 inches for the overall length. Nice and compact, with the wheelbase out at 118 inches, which is very long for something that's only 182 inches long overall. So that's going to help with the ride quality a lot. Look how far forward that front wheel is. And this one has the massive pano sunroof that we'll talk about when we get inside. And it's cool that when you are walking up to the car, if you've got the key in your pocket, it will actually unlock for you. That's a pretty cool feature there. Now, up in the front, they've done a great job with this front end. A lot of these EVs look kind of weird because they don't have a grille, but they did a good job with this design to not make it look super weird, but still looks pretty nice. I love the black and the silver trim in here as well. Got the parking sensors around in the camera again, because this one does have the front and rear parking cameras as well as the 360 view. These LED lights in here are supposed to look like pixels. I love that. That's a really cool look to those. And since we're in the limited trim, this one does have the projector LEDs. Very cool look. Love that. For the back end here, more of this pixel looking stuff. I really love that they did that. LED taillights are integrated into there. The IONIQ 5 lettering is kind of floating. More of this silver and black trim. Really love the way they did that. Brake light up there on the top. No exhaust, of course, and more sensors for that parking and your parking camera. Now this does have hands-free here on the key fob, and that will open up into 27 cubic feet of space, which is pretty large, especially considering you get a lot of room in the back seat and you still get a lot of space back here. You got your privacy cover. There is no spare in this one. You get a tire mobility kit instead, but you do get a little bit of extra space down underneath there. 12 volt over there, 60-40 split on the seat, and we do have an actual solid piece here for hooking in the child seat. None of that just a loose fabric thing going on. And some access to the charger on the back end over here, and push to close. Now some other things that we do have on this key here, there's a button to open up your charging port over here. There's also a button on the charging port itself. You got to get used to backing into your garage if you're not, because this is, you know, on the back side of the car here. And we've even got an indicator here to tell you your charge level. Then you've got the vehicle to load here if you want to put an adapter in to charge some other things. And there's a button to close that. We've also got remote start on here. Lock it up and hold that button there, and you don't get an exhaust sound if you're used to hearing that when you do a remote start, like I am. A little bit strange, but you get the flashing lights there so you know that it's on now. And then this one does have the scare your friends feature, just like that Santa Fe, or if you need to get out of the car to get into a tight parking space or get out of a tight parking space, just hold that button down. There's one for forward, there's one for back, and actually you can use that same remote start button there, hold that down, and it will shut the car back off for you. All right, let's go ahead and hop inside. All right, heading inside here, we've got a very minimalistic thing going on here. Massive open footwell, which is something that I have not seen in any other car before. The first thing I note is the lack of gloss black, which I absolutely love. Instead, in the door panels, they did this plasticky thing, which my wife hates, but I like it because it's not gloss black. This is the dark green interior. Doesn't really, it looks kind of gray unless you get it in just the right light. But there is some gloss black on these plasticky buttons. They're kind of cheap feeling buttons, but you gotta save costs somewhere. And the black across here for the haptic buttons for the climate control, not my favorite choice. I will say that is probably the one thing about this interface that I just really don't like, is just this black across here. If you want to update if you want to do the seat heat and ventilation, you got to push a button here and do everything through the infotainment. Can do a few things like the fan, but it's just the haptic thing is not my favorite. We've got a few buttons up here for tuning, nav, media, your parking camera, since this does have the 360-degree camera, which is a great feature as always. And while this wheel is tilt and telescope, you can't quite get it in a good position where I can see everything in the instrument cluster, so that's a little bit frustrating. But the stuff at the top of the instrument cluster isn't super important, so not a huge deal. And as far as that instrument cluster goes, it's got a little bit of a tacked on feeling. I don't know if this was a design choice for cost effectiveness or to make it look a little more futuristic, or if a little bit of both or whatever. But you know, we've got the long tablet all the way across with 2 screens in it. It's something I've seen in like Mercedes, and I've seen in a couple other car companies are starting to use this more. But in Mercedes, it's like one massive screen all the way across, whereas this is 2 separate ones. It's just, I don't know, it feels a little tacked on is all. But other than that, the infotainment works well. It's quick, it's easy, it's got some efficiency information in here. It's got your Android Auto, your Apple CarPlay, those are wired. There is no wireless version, but those are in here. You got your quiet mode as always with Hyundai and Kia, which is nice, which will make the back speakers quieter. That is a Bose sound system, not a Harman Kardon, but generally quick, easy to use. You've got dark mode, you've got light mode, and over here, I really like this graphic setup over here, which will give you a visual indication of your efficiency, whether you're regenerating or whether you're using the power, and also of your speed in sort of a cool way that I haven't seen before. And for Hyundai, I like to see which wheels are going, just because it's interesting to me. And with this one being a rear biased layout, most of the time it is the rear wheels that are going, but you'll see the front wheels start to kick in if you go into sport mode, or if you go hard around a corner, or if you go off the line hard or something, you'll see those front wheels start to kick in. We do have a heads-up display because this is the limited trim level. It's got your current speed, it's got your speed limit. It's going to have your cruise control information, got your lane centering. As always, Hyundai, Kia, their lane centering is very, very good. You know, this one actually, it also has this sort of indicator of who's around you. It's kind of interesting. It's like watching chess pieces move around or something, but I find it's a little more distracting than anything else. But I can see where it could be helpful. We've got the D-shaped steering wheel here, a little bit of a sportier feel to it, leather wrapped with the thumb holes, always like that. We do have these 2 paddle shifters. Those are not to change gears because there are no gears. That's to adjust your level of regenerative braking. We do, because we're in the limited trim, we've got the massive, massive sunroof. Oh, I love it. Front to back. Love that. And that's pretty quick to open and close as well. And in the back seats back there, tons and tons of space. And even though this is a compact crossover, it manages to have a ton of space both in the hatch area and in the back seats. Just over 39 inches of legroom back there. Plenty of space for my kids, plenty of space if you're in forward or rear facing seats, plenty of space for me, of course. And there's even an outlet down here at the bottom if you've got the limited trim for the vehicle to load system, where you can actually charge other stuff with the car. Now these seats up here in the front, these are power adjustable with lumbar support because we are in the top spec, but otherwise comfortable. Leather wrapped, perforated because it's the heated and ventilated. The ventilated feature is only when you're in this upper limited trim level here. This one also has a relaxation feature, which is basically it'll lean back. You know, you can kind of relax, sort of like the leg rest comes up and you can lean the seat back pretty far here. Get the lumbar support going, the head back. I'm just gonna take a quick nap. I'll be right back. And these are memory seats as well. Buttons are kind of hidden up here in the front, but overall, you know, just a nicely done interior here, while keeping things affordable, but at the same time, you know, not showing that it's super cheap or anything like that. Really, you know, the soft plastics, the nice seats, the leather wrapped surfaces really did a pretty good job in here. The only 2 knocks really are the tacked on feeling here of this gauge cluster, and then the gloss black haptic things going on. But overall, really nicely done interior. You know, it's different, but it's not so outside the box that it's, you know, weird or difficult to use or anything like that. It's a very well done interior. So I have a few expectations when I get into an EV, and one of those is that it's gonna be loud, or it's gonna feel loud. Even if it's not louder than a comparable gas-powered car, it's gonna feel louder because we don't have that engine noise covering up some of the wind noise and the road noise and other things. But in this case, Hyundai has done a very good job at keeping those noises down, from the acoustic glass, insulation in the doors, the carpeting, acoustic tires, which jury's kind of out on whether or not those actually help. But the point is, at the end of the day, this thing is a lot quieter than I expected it to be. And I don't feel like it's any louder than a comparable $50,000 internal combustion car. So great job, Hyundai, there. Now, one thing to note with this being electric is you do have the whir of the motor, so that's something to get used to. My wife thinks it sounds kind of like a siren, so that is something, you know, if it does sound like a siren to you, it might not be the best, but for me, I've gotten used to it. Not really an issue. Now, the other thing with an electric is just how instant the power gets to the wheels. So in a gas car, a lot of the modern cars, everything is electronically controlled. You hit the gas and it's electronic, telling the engine to do whatever you need it to do. But in this case, it just feels a lot more immediate, and there's no building up to peak power, peak torque, anything along those lines like you would have in an internal combustion engine. You just have all of the power, all of the torque available immediately. So if you're in eco mode, it's gonna throttle you a little bit. If you go into sport mode, you can just have that power readily available immediately. You can make yourself car sick. I made myself a little car sick yesterday because it is just so instant. And with this one being all-wheel drive, I don't have any issues with wheel spin. That was something that I really had a problem with in the Bolt EUV. That was a front wheel drive EV, and even though that had significantly less torque, still off the line, even if I wasn't trying to gun it off the line, but get off the line a little bit more quickly than normal, I would get a lot of wheel spin. In this one, it doesn't matter, wet, dry conditions, I have not had any issues with wheel spin. Going off, getting off the line, going in a straight line, trying to get faster, trying to go around a corner harder than I should be going in an SUV. No issues with wheel spin, no issues with sliding. The grip is great in this car. And if you're not familiar with one pedal driving, EVs also have that feature, which means essentially as you let off the throttle pedal, it will start to brake for you and regen, so it will start regenning the battery. And you can usually, in a lot of cars, it's on or off, but in this one here, you actually have 4 different levels, so you can set how aggressively you want it to brake and regen when you get off the gas, when you get off the throttle. I'm going to keep saying gas, but you know what I mean, which is great for someone who is either new to EVs, maybe you're just not used to something quite so aggressive, and work your way up. Or you don't have to use it at all, you can just turn it off. And this also has a bunch of great safety features. Hyundai's lane centering, always a great system. It's not going to drive for you. You still have to have your hands on the wheel when you have that on, and it will yell at you if you do not have your hands on the wheel. It also has the adaptive cruise control with stop and go traffic. And since this is the limited trim, it also does some evasive maneuvering. So if you are about to get into an accident, either you're going to cut into someone else's lane, they're going to cut into your lane. If there's space for it to move to, it will move out of the way on its own, versus just having pre-collision braking. This one will actually move and actively avoid the situation. There is also a blind spot feature in addition to the one in the mirror. There is one in the heads-up display itself where it'll tell you if someone is coming up on your blind spot. That one is a very helpful system. A lot of times the heads-up displays feel like it's convenient. Is it necessary? Not really. It's not so helpful that it's like a deal breaker or anything like that. But the Hyundai system, actually, because of that blind spot monitoring, I do think that this one is probably worth it a little bit more than a lot of the competition's heads-up displays. And in addition to that, it has your speed limit, it has your current speed, has your radar cruise, it has all the kind of standard stuff that you would see in a lot of heads-up displays. But that blind spot monitoring is a big one. As far as ride quality in here, the ride quality is surprisingly good. I don't know if it's surprising. It is a $50,000 car. They're starting to push into luxury cars at that price point, but really you feel like you're probably paying more for the technology. In this case, the ride quality ends up being very good. I said that the wind noise wasn't too bad, and now of course I'm on a road where I'm starting to hear it a lot more, so maybe I'll eat my words a little bit on that. So overall, this is a very well done vehicle. The thing is, with the Bolt, I really enjoyed the Bolt. I thought that was a well done vehicle as well. But at $40,000, that's a well done vehicle. At $50,000, actually, this one starts at around $42,000. So even in the base level, you're still up above that loaded out Bolt. But this one does get you more features, does get you a little bit better safety. It doesn't get you super cruise, but it gets you something that's pretty close. So it really does a great job. This thing, it received a lot of praise last year when it debuted in 2022, or for the 2022 model year in 2021. But it really does deserve that praise. It is a great vehicle. The lack of gloss black, the way it drives, the amount of power and the way it delivers power. It charges fairly quickly. You can charge it overnight easily. It's just a well done vehicle. Now, I'm doing a lot of comparisons with the Bolt because that is just the one that I've spent the most time in. I've been in the C40, I've been in the Volvo C40, I've been in the GV60. I will hopefully get a chance at the IONIQ 6 and the Mustang Mach-E here pretty soon, but that's just the one that I've spent the most time in, so that's where I'm getting those comparisons for. But if you want to see more cars like this, if you want to see more cars in general, if you just want to help me feed my obsession with driving all kinds of different cars, make sure to hit the like button, hit the share button, tell your friends, tell your mom, tell your friend's mom, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.